What's up, Gumbeaux Fam? We're back with another episode, and this time, you know, I have one of my favorite returning guests. I don't think he warrants no introduction. He needs none, but he will get one. This is my longtime friend, my best friend. Well, Forrest told Jenny, my only friend, uh, of 12 to 13 years. And 10 years of marriage. And we're coming to you all freshly off of our 10th year of marriage. This man has, let's just say, dealt with my with my insanity, I should say. We have. We're going to use this time as an episode to walk through some of those things. His mindset, my mindset. We're coming off a trip out of Jamaica. I think that's like a bucket list trip for me because this was amazing, but not to get too far into it, but welcome back to the show, Scooter.
What's up, Gumbeaux Fam? How y'all doing today?
Question is, how you doing?
I'm fine, man. Coming off a good trip. Just trying to get back into things, but most of all, just enjoying the milestone of 10 years. It's been a long road. Still got more to go, but I think it's worth every year in the book.
Let me see. It's been a long road. It gives road too long. Let's start there. Is the road too long?
Nah, not at all. I mean, you gotta have fun, on this road. If not, it'll drive you insane. But when you got a partner like Sagan, I mean, every day is, you never know what you're gonna get, but it's worth it.
It's giving Forrest this whole episode. You get a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're gonna get, but I'm giggling at some of the phrases that we're using. Y'all trying to be all cerebral. So what we did was ask Chat. Chat is gonna help us with some questions where we could process with y'all. The first thing I want to process before we get into chat questions about like just 10 years of marriage and the what everybody was like highs, lows. Really and truly, I feel like people want to go deeper in marriage. It's kind of like, well, what are our thoughts about marriage? What are our feelings about marriage? And some of the episodes that we've had together have been, some of them had top rank on the gumbo, to be honest, because of the transparency of what we talk about and how we talk about it. And I do appreciate yours, so I just hope to do the same today. So let's start with Jamaica. I mean, what let's start with you. Just why that place? You handled everything, so I just want to let Gumbo Fam just to let y'all know this man planned everything from top to bottom. Like I didn't have a hand in it. I didn't have itinerary. This guy handled it from beginning to end. He knew where things were, menus, this, that. I felt like relieved to not have any hands on this trip. And that's unlike me. And so I'll start with that. Why Jamaica? And then explain your time there, sir.
Okay, well, for one, I felt like Jamaica was the right place to be celebrating, 10 years. It was like it's a milestone. So a milestone is like, you want something big in place, so we searched a few places. But Jamaica to me just stood out. I felt like it was a destination to where it was good to celebrate 10 years. This was our first trip out of the country, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, but, yeah, it just gave the place to be, and, like she said, I put everything on my back and just kept her out of it, kept her out of the loop. I didn't want her to really worry about nothing. I took care of the basics, you know what I'm saying? So when it was time for us to get ready, she never knew what was coming, what was gonna be next. It was all, you know, it was all just what's the next step. and she was with it, and I just took control, and I think she appreciated that more, a lot, honestly, because she's a woman that has her hand in everything, and you know, she couldn't take over this because she didn't know what the situation was. So that's just what it was.
Well, what would you say to other women that have that type of dynamic where they are kind of high performing in other areas of their lives? I say high performer, but they're just in everything, just kind of organizing this, getting into that, friend groups, organizations, things like that. What would you say? What I guess advice would you give to the husbands that may have that type of wife, or and the wives that are kind of trying to accept that from the husband? What would your advice to them be about creating, or I should say setting up a trip like this?
Well, for one, y'all both consult on the destination, right? So when the destination is agreed upon, you take it from there. You it's like, so you don't want the person that's overly in everything, right? Because it makes them feel like I had to do this, I had to do that. It always feel good on my end whenever I can just do things, my way. Uh, Without like letting her put her, oh, we should do this, we should do that. Like, nah, nah, I got this. Like, it shows uh my point of view of creativity and just things that I can do, without her having her hand in it. But it's you know, do your research. Look for all the things, like, hey, we could do this, we can do that. Um, like she said, I
No, consulting to do this and do that.
right now, is alone have to figure those things out. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of give them a break, especially for somebody that has their hand in everything. It really gives them a break. They don't have to stress about this. They don't have to stress about that. Um, it kind of it shows your uh what's the word I'm looking for? Your spontaneity. It makes that person look at you like, wow, you are capable of being, hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? Because most people look for one person to do kind of like everything. So, but when it's even, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, you can plan things, I can plan things. We the last, I think, three anniversaries, we've kind of went back and forth on what we, you know what I'm saying, like plan things. I think my first time ever planning was like year 8 when I did the whole like dinner and stuff like that. So come 10 years, I was like, I think I got this one. Like, let me control the situation, and that's just what I did.
Well, look, sounds like you executed. You had a whole game plan. That's what you felt very You felt very coachy when you were talking just then. I'm gonna just ask some just simple questions. Just what was your favorite part of the trip? You don't have to go into full detail, but just what was the favorite part of the trip? I guess the biggest memory that you're taking with yourself.
For me was the excursion. Um, or even just it was the excursion most, but
Okay.
so we went parasailing and we went uh rode the jet skis, right? The thing was like what made it so exciting was the weather. Like, so like the week before I looked at the weather, it was like supposed to rain every day. And I kind of got nervous. I was like, man, we paid good amount for this excursion. I'm like, man, I just hope everything go right. And it did, man. It was a beautiful day. Couldn't ask, guy just Had the sun out, man. It was the water was blue. Like everything was just perfect, you know. That was the most exciting part. But I think for me, the most exciting part was the club mobe. Is when you get off your flight, you don't have to go through these long lines of customs, immigrations in Jamaica or whatever. And like, you get off the plane, you got people waiting on you hand and foot. Honestly, they got your name. You go straight to them. Y'all skipping lines. People like, hey, can I come? Like, you know what I'm saying? They like, who is these people? They must be important. You know what I'm saying? So that was another aspect of just like, okay, how could I make her feel important on this trip? Like not really like telling her like, hey, look, this is what's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So she was excited about that part, like, and I knew like it was a good thing, like that she was really like with it. So, but yeah, overall the excursion was, I think, the biggest part because I was worried about the weather being terrible, and like I said, man, God just did His thing and had the sun out, bro. We had a blast.
He did. I'd have to agree. I have to say my favorite part was the excursions as well, and more so for like physical reasons because had it been a year ago, before November of 2024, 360 pounds, Sagan would have never been able to get on a parasailing experience with my husband. Would have never, and I don't take that lightly. I mean, taking flights at 300 pounds was, to me, a little demoralizing. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of make you feel, the extender. I'm only speaking for me because I know some people are comfortable in their own skin and bodies, but certain things, being able to do things easily, you you don't when you don't get to experience, you don't know what you're taking for granted. So I'll be honest, I realized that it was a different part of my lifestyle that I kind of missed out on. Didn't realize what I missed out, but being so high above the ocean and just looking down, you could see the sharks. You could see, everything. I didn't see it, but he did. But it was just kind of like, whoa. And what it reminded me of, just looking at the sky and just how high we were, man, we was close, and looking at planes up there was like, God is so good. Like, this is all of God's creation, and this is just a fraction of it. We're in a whole different country experiencing a fraction of God's creation. Like, there's such a bigger world out there. I would love to travel more and go to different places and to find different things and discover different things, especially with the people you love. So I would have to say excursion, and then just experiencing new foods. I'm a foodie. That's got what got me in the 300s in the first place. I'm a foodie. When I came back to the States, to home, I just immediately wanted to cook. I wanted to make the chicken stew, and I wanted to cook the rice and peas. So I was just like, I am going to cook. I'm glad I did. Um, Scooter said he enjoyed it, y'all. So he rated it what?
It was 20 out of 10. Definitely a 20 out of
Dude say 20 out of 10. You ready to get into these
10. I'm
questions?
ready to get into these questions.
Hold down. Let me get you. Let's get these questions going, chat. All right, so the first question chat asks, it says, what's one thing you've learned about yourself through marriage?
So, what I've learned about myself in 10 years of being married is that um, I never, it takes, it takes, it takes like for me, okay, a replay of my actions, right? So, um, say we get into an argument, or say we get into a spat, right? And it's something that bothers you about it. And for me to really not allow that to happen again, it's like I replay it in my mind, right? And I know, like, hey, if you do that, that's gonna set off a trigger. So it's like I'll try to avoid, I will remember to avoid certain things, try not to like start an argument or, you know what I'm saying, just You know what I'm saying? Just avoid, just make the day better, and not try to um you know initiate anything or try to start something. So try to avoid any argument at cause. You know what I'm saying? Because like they say, nobody wins when a family feuds.
Okay, and I guess what I say I learned about myself through marriage is I'm not as strong as I thought I was, you know what I mean? Like, and what I mean by that, I meant like this kind of independence, this I guess I didn't have to be realizing that I was using strength where I really didn't need it. And I hope that makes sense, but it's making sense in my brain to just say I had to build up many walls to keep people out because that was my defense mechanism from being hurt previous relationships. And then you keep those walls up in your marriage and you don't realize that they're still there until your partner has to kind of like call them out. Certain things in conversation, certain things like you just, and I think people have compared like marriages to certain relationships that I think other people have said it before, but like you can't just run from a marriage. You can attempt to, but marriage takes work. You have to run toward each other, and that is something you have to choose to do every day. I think that's where the difficulty comes from, because when there is a singleness, or in my opinion, when there's like this kind of doorway out, you just kind of like, I'm gone, um, we have the children, we have us, and I think what is bigger is that we don't have to be strong by ourselves. We be stronger together. I've noticed that as well, that we're stronger together. I'm more with you. Um, I don't want to be alone. You know what I'm saying? Like just realizing aspects of vulnerability as a woman that I appreciate. That's what I'll just say. I've noticed that about myself, that I didn't really have to fake the funk and be strong and whatever. All right, so other question for you is just what's something your partner does now that they didn't do in the beginning?
Um, I would say just allowing me to um just allowing me to be, allowing me to do things without having her hand in everything. Um, she can be very, you know, dominant, and when it comes to surprise, like just planning things and this and that. So what was so special about that was this trip. She had no hand in it, and you know, it was something I enjoyed doing. Like just not having, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. Like, it was none of that. It was all me on these bases. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, just allowing me to, you know, use my mind, without like, and just her following the leads. It's like, hey, whatever you cool with, that's just what it like. That's just what we're gonna go with. So, but yeah, that's, to me, that's like the things that has changed over the years.
I definitely piggyback and say that is exactly the polar opposite of like you accepting that responsibility. I think before, early in our marriage, you allowed me to take on more. It's like I'm just gonna chill. She gonna, and I think it was more out of, to be honest, let's just keep it 100. I think it was fear of like maybe she's gonna say that she don't like it or whatever. Like I think, and this is not me picking on men. It's just me saying I think men at times, um, although very dominant, can fall back thinking that it's just the better thing to do with not taking charge when they actually need to. I know that they claim like women are the neck and y'all, to help it turn and all that. It's great, but we too need the support and help. I think it's just easier for men to just kind of bow out where women were kind of stubborn in a sense of not letting go. So I just feel like you just took on more responsibility and stepped into your, you know what I mean, got in your bag a little bit when it comes to taking charge of, especially event planning and those decision makings like before. And not to say you weren't in on decisions, it's just that initiation of it.
Mm-hmm.
I see the role reverse, and I appreciate that a lot more than at the beginning because I'm very strong personality. If y'all haven't gotten to realize that about the show, let's talk about what is the most proud, or what is the most proud, or what are you most proud of as far as what we built together.
Um, just the foundation we are building with our kids. Um, you know, it takes two, man. Like we have a structured type of situation with these kids. You know what I'm saying? And then you kind of can tell like when we're gone, um, how it all kind of crumble down. But you can't expect, it's never that you can expect other people to do how do how you do when when you're around. You know what I'm saying? So, but I know like when we're around, our foundation is tighter. Our structure is tighter. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but just like what I'm saying, just keeping them. We are raising people that has to succeed in this world. And I think that we're, even though parenting is tough, I think we're raising our kids to be successful, putting them in successful situations. Um, but yeah, I think the foundation we're building with our kids is like the most important thing in our marriage.
I I would have to. I hate to just keep saying the same thing, but I want to say what you said, and then I'll probably say something else because what I did see is that deviation. What you said because y'all we just went on a trip. Shout out to our family for stepping in. It just was an adjustment for them children. Like all jokes inside at this point is that them conduct folders for the week was a little rough for the little one because this was his first time being without us. He's only 5, and it's been that long, y'all, since we've actually traveled beyond that. I think we just haven't traveled anywhere to do that. And he, child, saw all these numbers that they go to school with to tell you what kind of behavior. It had him at a B in conduct, and your boy had disrespectful to adults and out of his seat. And I'm like, on a Thursday, what is you doing? Like, but we had gotten calls from Momo that he wanted hot cakes. He was inserting himself about McDonald's. Now, mind y'all, this is not a thing and a theme in our house. It used to be, I can't lie, a year ago, I think we went before we started actually budgeting and being grown adults. We had fast food bills out the wazoo. I feel like when we did our little checks and balances, our fast food was out the wazoo. So we don't get down with the Mickey D's and this and the nuggets. So we Sam's it up. We purchase all. You want that? Great. It's at your disposal at home. We don't do that. But when you have these rules in place and when you're not there to enforce them, just to his point, them kids is going to try to run over whoever in here, and it could be in a nice way, but that little one, y'all pray for us for real, because that little kid is different. Like any kid born in 19, 20, 21, those COVID, pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID babies, they different, they really are different. So just to get to the point of foundationally, I think God at like we, although I feel like we can be a stronger family spiritually and we're going to get there. I know we will. We know who we belong to. And I think I love that for our children to that we are allowing them to explore God in a way that at their own pace. You know what I'm saying? I was forced to go to church when I was younger, and I know I'm not gonna make this conversation about that, but um, we don't have that yet as a standard for our home. But Corey loves church. Like, I mean, she gravitates towards her grandmother's church. She loves the atmosphere, everything. Kanai's longing for church because of his sister. They pray, they initiated this Jesus plushie Corey got. That's all her love for God. Like they're growing themselves in Jesus, and running towards Him versus us pushing towards Him. And I know that there's a healthy balance with that. And I don't think everybody agrees with that type of parenting. But to be honest, I appreciate that for ourselves, that Jesus is still the same. Like nothing comes before God, nothing. And so I really appreciate that our marriage can be centered around that. But most importantly, that our children are too, and our family is. So big ups to that. I will ask this I would say before we get to like any advice, because I want to close with that. Let me ask you, memory wise, take yourself back to wedding day.
Mhm.
Take yourself back to even the wedding. Let's do this wedding weekend. Anything wedding related. Since we're 10 years in, what's your biggest or fondest or just most pivotal, like, or prominent memory from wedding?
I think the most pivotal day of the wedding, right? Man, I was nervous. To a point where the destination where I was getting dressed, they had stairs. I missed about five of them. Landed, I didn't, I didn't fall, but I missed some steps. But I was, landed on my, I was I landed on my feet and all, wasn't hurt no nothing. But I think the most pivotal moment was seeing you come down the aisle. I didn't see you prior I guess the night prior. Um, it was just something. It was special. It was special. The vows were special. You know, um, it was everything was written from the heart. Um, and the fact that Mama left the ring. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my. But yeah, that was just seeing you coming down the aisle, man. Like that was the most uh pivotal moment. You know what I'm saying? Like I was excited to see you. You was beautiful. Everything from the hair to the dress was beautiful on you.
Oh, look at sweet. Um, he stole my little piece, y'all. He stole my thunder a little bit, but I did want to say that my most prominent memory from the wedding is I forgot his ring. Not everything that never dawned on me. I never said, "Oh, let's grab the ring." Or does it? We didn't have a wedding party, by the way, y'all. We're gonna do justice of peace. To be quite honest, we're gonna do justice of peace, a little park wedding and this and that. I wanted to elope. Okay, honestly wish I had, but luckily our church and our pastor and they rallied around us. They helped us. I mean, we didn't come out of pocket for a whole lot of stuff. It's just like we were two brokies getting married anyway. And it was a struggle, and I don't know if they saw that or if God was just like, man, let's get these people over, just get these people over this hurdle. Let's get these people married, please. But it was forgetting the ring, and our pastor, like when he was like the rings, Scooter had his and or mine rather, and I was like, huh? And the look on my face, my pastor was like, all right, and y'all have to meet Pastor McKnight. That's one of the coolest, like swagged out in my opinion. But he's like, all right, don't worry, this is why I'm your pastor. He ain't alarmed the congregation, none of that. When he talking to us, sliding his ring off of his finger into my hand to put on my husband's hand. And he didn't take it back until after the wedding. And that is one of the prominent memories of the wedding. But I just knew from premarital counseling, right? I think, and that's gonna jump right into the like advice that we would give other couples, because it's like, how did you last this long? I don't like all that like couples goals and all that. That's
Mm-hmm.
not, no, that's just not what. Please don't take any of this out of context, y'all. But what I will definitely tell you is, advice is a strong word. What we would just suggest that you do, I would definitely say premarital counseling with anybody, for any, like, get y'all some counseling prior to see where you are, to let those truths be revealed prior to the wedding. Because I think us even admitting, like, well, y'all met and, um, you know, sex, we talked about that in premarital counsel. We talked about dating. We talked about children.
Even
Um,
situations where we have gotten to arguments, like what started it, what was the reason, like, what I'm saying? Like what kind of kicked the situation off. So,
I definitely would say, like, suggestion wise, and this is my where I bring my boy in for my closing question. Is just like, what, I don't want to say advice, but what would you suggest for anyone that is or would ask you, like, how how did you last this long? What is the secret? What would you say?
um, to me, it is so you have to, you know what I'm saying? You have to be willing to compromise yourself. Even though, you may want this, you may want to do that, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to compromise yourself for that person. Um, you have to know the triggers. Um, and just be willing to listen. You know what I'm saying? Be willing to learn because trust me, every day, every year, that person is never the same. You know, you just have to be willing to, you got to be willing to learn. I mean, it's just like, to me, it's like, it's like these basketball and football players. It's development. You have to develop yourself into a better husband or wife. You know what I'm saying? The first 5 years is going to be rough. You're not going to get the hang of it. Even in year 10, you're not going to get the hang of it. Yes, year 10 may be better than year 5. You know what I'm saying? But you're still developing. You know what I'm saying? You're still learning. It's always a learning process. You know what I'm saying? Every day, every month, every year. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a learning process. You have to learn that person. It may be small things that you do that get on her nerves. You know what I'm saying? Even to a point where she told me we was on a trip and it was like, you know, be it's like be whatever you say. You be let your yes be a yes. Don't say yeah, we could. Don't use the word we could. Be affirm with your answer. Like, you know what? That's what we doing, and that's where we going. So is yeah, you know what I'm saying? The minute you put we could in it, it's like you got doubt in that answer. So don't doubt yourself. You know what I'm saying? Always be affirm with that answer. If it's yes, that's yes. You know what I'm saying? Learn to stand your ground. There's a lot of things I wish I could have stood my ground on, but now that I'm learning, like I say, I'm still developing myself as a better husband, a better friend, a better father. You know what I'm saying? I don't know it all. You know what I'm saying? I'm still learning. You know what I'm saying? Year 10, is it better than year 5? Of course. You know, things I did in year 5, like I wouldn't even do year 10 because I know what that caused, what that triggers. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about learning, man. You got to be willing to learn. Like if you ain't willing to learn or willing to change yourself or develop for that person, then is no reason to stay married. You know what I'm saying? Like people change. You gotta be open to the change that's gonna happen. And the minute you think she gonna that person gonna stay the same, you gonna get left behind. You know, sometimes that happens to a lot of people. They fall out of love. That's divorce happen. That's when arguments happen. You know what I'm saying? Because that person changed and you didn't see or you wasn't aware of the situation because why you wasn't willing to look and see that happened. So, but you really have to develop yourself as a man and be willing to learn. It's never like it's no just because you have to be open for critiques also. You know what I'm saying? That is nothing's wrong being told. Nothing's wrong with being told what you're doing wrong. It's a learning lesson. You know what I'm saying? You learn from it, you move on, and you won't, you know what I'm saying? You don't allow it to happen again. But you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to develop yourself. If you ain't willing to do that, then, you ain't willing to commit to a marriage. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's just what it is, man. Be open to learning, development, and just open to critiqueness because there's going to be a lot of that.
He stressed it. I feel like he's hitting on so many points, y'all, that I'm just kind of stealing his lines here, but I would have to just strongly suggest trying to work on your ego. Number one, being a little bit more self-aware, identifying your spots that you can improve so that way you don't feel some type of way when your partner calls that out or calls that to your attention. The closeness of marriage requires you to be open and willing for somebody else to see you. This person is with you 24/7. This person is with you more, than like everything everywhere. And the expectation is for you to share and develop, like he said, together. And if that's the case, then you're seeing me in my rawest form. And so you see all my faults. You may comment on my faults. You may ask me to change some things. And if my ego is in the way, I promise you, who are you going to? You're going to got the ego. You going to accept the ego, or you going to accept your husband? Like, which one is bigger? Which one sits on the throne a little bit? And at the end of the day, being able to admit, and that goes back to what I mentioned before, vulnerability, but being able to admit your own faults, die to yourself, if that makes sense, deny yourself of things that you know that necessarily that you wouldn't. If you were on your own, you would probably be like, that's me, that's me, that's me. That's not what we want to do in a marriage, because we do have to, although we get to the good, we have to accept, like, man, I got to make these decisions for both of us, and it impacts both of us. So the other thing is just to say exactly what he said. Be willing to just move yourself out of the way, because at many times we are in our own way. I've noticed that about myself, and it's a humility I have to have in my marriage that I don't have to have with anybody else, but I have to have with him because I respect him so much. The other thing, and lastly, is just friendship. I feel like at the core of all marriage, if you have just this kind of business interaction, like, if this is just my partner, this is my friend. At the end of the day, losing him is losing a lot more than just a partner. This is my best friend. This is, and if at the core of your marriage, if you don't even like the dude, or you don't even like your wife like that, like what, like that's where you have to really center yourself and say, so, really evaluate some things, because that is your person. You don't want to lose it. And so you don't have no problem pushing yourself to the side, or taking a beat, taking a day or two, and being the first to apologize. Those things like that happen. So anything you want to say and close your bay?
Uh, but yeah, definitely. I almost forgot. Keep guiding everything y'all do, man. You know, God is the reason we've been able to be 10 years strong, 12 years together. God is the reason we've been able to just deal with these kids, man. Cause it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard being a parent. It's hard being married. You know what I'm saying? It's like and trying to intertwine those two, bro. It's like, you know, it's a tug and pull. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes kids um, they will try to put you against one another. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like you're a team. You know what I'm saying? That's your partner. Uh, y'all work as one. You know what I'm saying? If one limb ain't moving, the other, y'all gonna fall apart. You know what I'm saying? You gotta stay connected. You gotta move together. You know what I'm saying? There's no I in team. Um, you know what I'm saying? So it's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But keep God in everything y'all do, man. Like that's just the main priority. You know what I'm saying? He's the reason. He's the glue. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just you love that person. You know, like I say, man, it's a different person when they wake up. So be willing to really learn. You know what I'm saying? Like it's still stuff that I gotta realize about this woman. You know what I'm saying? But I'm grateful for. I don't thank God. I thank God for every day. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it no other way. I don't think God would have put her in my path if it wasn't meant to be. You know, uh, but definitely, man, just like I said, just be willing to learn that person. And keep God in it. And that's all I got.
That's all we need, because I don't know how many times we heard, you know what I'm saying. So y'all better know what this boy is saying right now. So Gumbo fam, thank y'all for listening. We love y'all always, and shout out to year 10, babe. Love you.
Love you too.